Okay, and we'll see what Zoom says about this. Okay, and we are live.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So we will assume that that is true and that we are live. So welcome, Robert. We just had a little bump in the road for
Welcome
anyone who
again.
started watching. Yeah, it cut us off, and now we are live. So anyway, well, I wanted to ask you first, what was life like before you started working with me in Command Z, before you started doing the most recent intensives? Uh, if anyone caught that last little snippet, Robert had worked with myself and my former business partner Riley many, many years ago when we did our first course. I think that was 2010, and we did a course called The Way Down. It was right around October or November of 2010. All of us were in sunny Southern California at that time, so I remember Riley and I were sitting outside teaching the course. But then more recently, Robert and I got back in touch, and then you did the Radical Undoing intensives. So
Yeah.
that's what I'd like to discuss today. And so I'll ask you again then, what was life like before you started working with me? Like if we took a time machine back before the intensives
Mm.
and the challenges you're facing and any pain or frustration that you might have been feeling.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before and after, um, the main thing I've noticed is there's a little bit of a gap where I can kind of, instead of just reacting to things, um, so between a response or between some kind of stimulus, whatever it might be, and just an automatic response, which now I see is not really automatic. Like I have that moment in between is a lot wider, and I can kind of like slow it down or kind of dial it in. And sometimes I can, almost see where it's developing is in my body and slow it down and realize, I'm first of all, I'm labeling it as anger. It could actually be something I can channel into something more useful. And or if I want to be angry, I'll angry, but I have more control over it. So that's the main difference. And that's initially what I was kind of looking, try to tackle with this course, something specific. So yeah.
And so what was it like? So now you just expressed kind of how it changed, how it developed. What was it like
Hmm.
before that? So you said you maybe had forgotten or drifted into it.
Yeah, well, it was more, you know, it was more like an unconscious just reaction. I think about it later and think, oh yeah, that's right. I probably do have a little bit more control over that, but it was always after the fact. So it was kind of just like walking around, a little bit unsure of yourself because how I might react to things, and um, a little bit almost scared of myself how I would react, and kind of stupid things would come out of my mouth, and just judgments like that left and right. So now I have a little bit, you know, not a little bit, maybe a little bit more control over that, and I'm a little bit more relaxed because I know I have the tools to deal with it. Not every reaction necessarily has to be, um, laced with anger and strong emotions and things like that.
Yeah, that's very cool. Uh, so what was your experience as you went through the program? And it doesn't have to only be about the anger thing, but it can be about really anything that comes to mind. So like any ahas or epiphanies that you might have.
Yeah, it was a you know pretty intense course, hence the name. I would say the biggest epiphany I had, um, was that I could actually do something like this. I noticed, for a lot of any kind of self development stuff that I would look into, I'd always take some of the smaller courses and not, kind of not jump into the maybe main big offering that, the teacher or whatever had to offer. So now I kind of feel like I can tackle some of the major stuff, that's offered if need be. And just, yeah, thank you for, oh,
Very cool. So what was intense about it for you?
yeah, I think just there was a lot of, man, there was like a lot of stuff. Just all of the like the AM or the morning things that we had to do. And then just there was a few select exercises, not exercise, but adventures, I guess, we had to do for specific days that kind of broke through. Like like one of the um, things I had to do for one day was something that I would always think about of doing, like in a gradual uh way over maybe the course of a year or something. And then I was kind of forced to sit down and say, hey, I got to actually do this. Like if I'm following through, so this is one day that I have to do this, and I have to sit down and use my brain and come up with, for example, things that I don't no longer want to do in my life that is holding me back, that I have to say that's it, that's enough, like I can't do it anymore. Or relationships or what have you, things that and things that I want to strive toward, what are some goals that I have, or things that I want to get done. And you know I think that was intense for me because I'm looking at it like, okay, so I've committed to this. I can lie to myself, or I can sit down and do the damn thing and have that day where I have to do this, or at least get the started, in some type of substantial way. Um, and so that was kind of intense, and eye opening too, just the way I would kind of previously kind of think about maybe sort of getting in a comfortable position, and then kind of realizing, well, maybe I was comfortable in that, almost that, mental anguish of not doing what I wanted, or having the things I wanted, or and then doing things I didn't want to do, and coming to terms with, do I really want to change my life? And if, answer is yes, well, then it's presented right here in front of me. I got to take the time to at least map it out and start working on the first few you know bullet points or whatever it might be for it.
Yeah, man, that's really interesting. It also makes me think that tackling the structure and the step-by-step stuff you have to do in the intensives might give that muscle a workout, so then
Yeah, definitely.
that could carry forward with your ability to do other things, maybe seemingly completely unrelated to the intensives, but that.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. If you want to use that analogy, like a muscle, wasn't atrophied, but it wasn't getting its workout. So now I'm kind of presented with, well, what if I did this for a month? What if I, throughout the year, I have my own 12 intensives through the year of put myself through the ringer? What would life be like? And it's like a opening up of possibilities. And now I feel like I'm at the beginning stage of life again, and every month, week, day could be the same thing. Not every day is just amazing, full of adventure, but it can be. It just depends how you look at it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, and this, you've kind of already answered this, but finally, like, what did you create for yourself by going through the program? So, like, what results are you seeing now that maybe you weren't seeing before?
Yeah, definitely that stopgap that I mentioned before. But I want to say, if I want to, give it any kind of tangible thing, just coming back to the body, which I think was week 2 is when we kind of focused on it, I believe,
Yeah.
was super important for me. And it's almost like I feel like time has slowed down, instead of prior to this. Like, I feel like, man, I can't, time is slipping away right through my fingers. And sometimes yeah, I have those moments still, of course. It's not like that doesn't happen, but on a background level, I feel like everything's a little bit, slowed down, and I can kind of, um, so I'm struggling to find the right word that's descriptive enough for this, but like I said, especially with emotional responses, and just instead of, getting angry for small things, and just creating suffering in my own head, that none of that exists anywhere else in reality, and realizing that what my experiences internally, can be controlled in some ways, and slow it down, and just give myself that even if it's a microsecond or whatever, that's available to me, like that's there. And yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, and if you don't have to do as much work as you do during the intensives. I mean, that's why it's the name intensives, in order for those effects to keep rippling out into your life.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still kind of do the self, and then I took kind of a break, slow down on things, but I have the coursework and I have my notes and stuff, and I want to kind of dig into it again. Maybe not quite as intense as the first round, or maybe more intense. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like I could, go again and keep learning from it. So that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's very cool. Definitely. And you can even build some of your own routines out of what's there into the
Yeah.
topic of your own schedule, the way your own life works. Well, that's really cool. Anything else you'd want to mention to anyone who's considering doing this kind of training?
Yeah, I have. I would say, um, don't, if you're thinking about it and you feel like, even if, you know, um, you don't think you can do the whole do everything in the course, I would say still kind of just go through and do as much as you can. Like there were for some days there was, some fasting or whatever, what have you, where I wasn't 100%, maybe I was like 90%. But none of that matters. Just as long as you do 100% what you can do and go through it, you're going to have some like amazing results. Um, and I would say it's intense, but just, kind of follow what you said. Just do some of it every day. A little bit every day is better than like an hour or two twice a week. Then you're kind of like, what's the point? You're not really getting the full effect of it. So I was kind of, and that's sort of what, I took some other course on meditation or something like that. And I remember a couple years back, and that's how I ended up doing it. I was super busy and I just kind of fell through that. But that's not how that course was designed. So initially I thought maybe I shouldn't have taken it. But, if you want to go through this, just give yourself that month, and take it time, make it a gift for yourself, and go through it as hard as you can. And yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It'll be intense, but it'll be a way for your you're literally helping kind of restructure your brain in an organic way, and like no crazy side effects, nothing like that. And you're just gonna be a better person overall at the end of it, um, for yourself and for other people around you. So, give it a try, I guess.
That's pretty cool. Did people around you notice any changes?
Yeah. Um, just especially with the anger thing and just being a little bit more mellow. So that was noticed. And also just, people were saying, oh, you seem a little bit more relaxed and kind of smile more. I try to smile, but it never happens. Unless
There's
I'm
one,
laughing,
the little one.
but yeah, that's how I smile for a photo. It's like that. So, but people were saying, so I was like, okay, well, that's indicative of something. But yeah, it definitely, people notice some change.
Very cool. That's great, man. Well, I'm glad to see you and be in touch again. I guess we've been Facebook friends the whole time, but it just shows how
Yeah,
how meaningless that can be without,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
just was never on it. I'm getting a little bit more through this course, like just the having to log into Facebook. So now have a Facebook addiction. Thank you, Garrett.
Oh no, I
You
was
know?
just thinking, I'm actually trying to leverage the Facebook addictions that already
Yeah,
exist and
yeah,
funnel
yeah,
that
yeah,
effort into something useful. So
yeah.
I
Definitely, that's
apologize
good.
for anyone who didn't have Facebook and now is back into it, but
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm using it as well as possible.
you can check out the, I don't know if you saw the Mutant Survival Challenge thing I put up, but you might enjoy seeing some other folks. I'll make sure you're in there right now. It's yet another group, but one that you might enjoy because people are doing live stuff, and some people who've never, people who have never even gone live before are starting to do that. So let me see how I invite.
Yeah, my first actual going live or whatever on Facebook was through this intensive. Um, but yeah, very cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, there we go. I just invited you. I don't know how that slipped through the cracks. There we go. So you are in there. That's Command Z Academy for Mutant Evolution and Training.
That's amazing. I love that you got co-opted that. That's so cool. Essentially, it's kind of what it is, right?
Right. That's what I started thinking. I was like, this is actually like the most clear way I can communicate this, because I don't want to use all these terms of psychiatry, psychology. It's like people are drowning in that terminology now. All the diagnoses and depression and anxiety and all this, and it's like I was waiting around in that for so long. I was like, man, starting to get anxious and depressed at the same time. Just looking at this. No, I wasn't, but there's a time for new terms, and I think the popularity of Marvel and DC presentations, for better or worse, has exploded over the last 10 years, and it never really dipped since it was introduced in the 50s and 60s, but it's just gone massive now. And my personal favorite is the show Legion, and maybe the movie Deadpool.
I think I saw the first season. That was really good.
Yeah, it's really something you have to
check out the second one.
It's like visiting an art museum or something. You gotta you want to see the exhibit multiple times.
Yeah, it's definitely deep.
But that particular about all the shit going on inside the mind, and then this unifying force attempting to draw it all together and harness it into some powers is very cool, very interesting.
It's awesome. Yeah, I
I'm
never
glad you like that term. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I never read the Legion comics or anything, but I did. I used to read X-Men, and I think a few other ones during like the early '90s when I was a kid. Like that was my jam for a couple of years, and I kind of just stopped reading them. But I kind of remember those things fondly, and kind of want to check it out, get a little deeper into that.
Yeah, I think there's something about why people like that, and especially when you feel like you can relate more to one of those characters and their struggles, maybe more so than you can to the very human struggles that a lot of people are caught up complaining and commiserating about. It's this internal battlefield of learning how to harness the latent abilities that you have, and I think that's appealing to a lot of people. And
it's empowering too.
Say what?
It's empowering too, instead of having to feel like everything that obviously symptoms of anxiety aren't unique, but sometimes when you have those and you frame it that way, especially if you're younger, you might feel like you're the only one that has that. I mean, you might intuitively know that's not true, but internally, in what's in your body feels like that. So it is empowering if you kind of shift it in another way and say, hey, maybe this is just the tail end of something that I can tap into that can be beneficial for me and serve me, So that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm just glad to hear that from you, because I'm out on a limb every time I decide a new way to express this stuff, and half the time I feel like a little kid. Like I'm super excited about all of it still, but I have no idea, how it hits. when other people see it. But the mute thing seems pretty cool so far. Yeah, people can tell. There's people who will be repelled by it right away,
Yeah.
and there might be the people who shouldn't really be messing around with this type of intense work. Yeah. But good luck telling your, psychiatrist that you're a mutant. You'll see what kind of
Just start
prescriptions you
scribbling
get very
something down.
quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be in the
Yeah,
early part of
15.
aging in the mental hospital. Yeah. Before the mutants come to break you out.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. That is crazy.
Very interesting. Well, it's great to meet up with you, man. And
Yeah.
stay in touch. And if you can come out to Croatia for the workshop in the summer.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. That would be perfect time. So yeah. But yeah, thanks again. Sorry I was late.
It's
But
okay. Yeah. Nobody knew but me until you said that now. So
yeah. Well, there you have it. Now everybody knows.
Right.
But yeah, thanks again, man. And I appreciate you putting that course together. I mean, it's keep on doing what you're doing. It's helpful,
No, thank you very much. Yeah, man. And
helping a lot of people.
thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me, actually. So keep in touch. Message me anytime, and I'm always happy to hear from you. So I'm sure we'll see you around the bend sooner or later.
All right, man. All right.
Fun.
Thanks. Have a good one.
See you.